Okay, everybody, it's Adri here with another otome route review. So, still working on Cupid Parasite, but I finished the last route, and I did discover there is a secret route, but I'm not going to go to spoilers for that. But the secret route does unlock once you complete all of the others. So it apparently doesn't have any options. I'm still playing through that. But the last route I finished was Allan Melville, who has a lot of stuff going on in these routes. Just to be like super duper honest, like, oh my god, there's so much crap going on. So here's this little movie to play in the background as I talk about Allan. So Allan is the Thieving Parasite, and I think of all the guys I was most attracted to him. His design, very purpley, emo goth kid. You can kind of stereotype actually a little bit as we get more into this. You'll see why it's a stereotype. But he is the ladies' man, the Thieving Parasite. He only goes after women who are already in love. So starts out like everything else, right? You get the common route, get that done, and everyone starts leaving Cupid Corp after the Parasite 5 shows up. So, but, you know, trying to get back to normal, what you discover is Allan is like pissing off all your members. He's basically ruining all your matches, and you're like, motherfucker, you are breaking up people that I have matched together. So you confront him. You go to his pillow store. Basically, when you go to his pillow store, the first thing you see is he's given a customer a pillow, and she falls asleep, and then he poofs inside of her for a little bit, and then comes back out, and you're like, and you're basically screaming at him, being like, the fuck out, what the fuck was that? And he's like, oh, you were here. So, you know, pretty quickly you discover that Allan's an incubus, which in pretty much the other routes, if you've played them before now, like, you know, we're pretty hinted at this already, so like I had already figured this out at this point. I will also say, I'm kind of surprised. So technically you can play Raw and Allan's route after you've done one of the other guys. So you could do Gil's route and then you could jump into Allan's route. I definitely don't recommend. There's a lot of spoilers in here. Like, Allan's route definitely deserves to be done last. I'm really surprised they didn't lock it to where you get to do everyone else's route first. Kind of like how they do with the redheaded dude from Olympus, right? Kaza. Like, you can't do a Kaza's route until you've done everyone else's because it answers so many damn questions. So, back to Allan. So, yeah, you discover that Allan's an incubus and he's feeding off, and that's why he's attracted to women who are in love with someone else, because he can only feed off of women who are in love with someone else. And it's like, oh, okay. Why can't you just feed off of someone you're in love with? Apparently, it doesn't taste as good. I don't know. Let's pull up some pretty CGs while we discuss. So it'll work. So that's him in his little, like, kind of demon form, not full demon, like halfway demon form. So yeah, and you're like, you bastard, how dare you do this to women? And you like pull out your Cupid's bow and you're gonna make him fall in love so he knows how it feels. And he's like, that's gonna kill me, please don't. And you're like, ah, and you've already shot the arrow. And so because you are a good person and you don't want to kill Allan, who is a demon, you you try to stop your Cupid arrow that you already shot, and you get pricked by it, and you fall in love with Allan. So for the next 30 days, you guys are dating, because you're in love with him, and you make him promise to feed off of you, and what he discovers is that you are quite tasty, supposedly because you're like a goddess. And he's like, oh, hot damn, I didn't think you'd be this tasty. Allan's super sweet. You also find out he doesn't eat normal food since he's feeding off dreams, so he doesn't know what anything tastes like. He thinks boba tea is sour. It's not, it's sweet. So someone played a joke on him. He's very sweet and caring. He very much loves you with all his being. It's very much kind of an unconditional love a little bit, like, he just wants you to be happy. He just wants to be happy. Even if you end up with someone else, he's A-okay. So, the route's kind of divided into like part A and part B. So let's talk about A and then we're going to dive into B. So part A is you're dating for the 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, oh yeah, you and Allan have sex. It's a little bit on the spicier side. I liked it. No, I didn't feel like it was as spicy as Rawls. A little bit on the spicier side, especially compared to the first couple routes. You guys are in love with each other, and Allan is very sweet. He takes you on dates. He plays the perfect boyfriend. You kind of have to coerce him to like actually kiss you and like sleep with you. You're like, oh, and it's like, oh, will this go away after, you know, the 30 days because of the bow? And it doesn't. Fun fact, it's not going to. Because what you guys have is true love. Do I consider this route canon? Maybe. I'm still playing through the secret route, so I feel like the secret route is another contender for what I would consider canon. But like, Allan is your one true love. 100%. He loves you no matter what. He just wants you to be happy, whether you're with someone else or with him. It's actually pretty endearing. You also find out he's not really the ladies' man. He has not really hooked up with lots of people or kissed people. He's just been, you know, giving them very spicy dreams. And so when he does his feed through the dreams, the person, since he's an incubus, he can only feed on women. So in the women's dreams, they're hooking up with whoever they're most in love with, which is not Allan. So he's not himself in these dreams. He looks like someone else typically, except for you because you're in love with him. Now, the first time he feeds on you, you kind of do have this weird dream with this person. You're like, it's not Allan. It doesn't look like Allan. You're like, kind of describe what they look like. It's like a blonde-haired person. Allan's kind of shocked by it. It's like, what? And then after, like, the next time he starts feeding on you, then it's like, oh, wow, it's Allan because you're fully in love. And then you get to the 30 days, and he kills you. You know, I said there wasn't any violence or death in this game? Wow. Wow. So, Allan kills you. He is trying to save your soul. Did I mention he's a demon? You had to see his demon form quite a bit. He's taking your soul so that it can be reincarnated into a human body so that you're not a goddess. So this is getting into more like part B territory and heavy spoilers. But the reason he does this is because the title of Cupid is passed down from Cupid to Cupid after they die. And guess what? They all die. They expire after some point. So apparently your time is coming to an end. Oh, I did forget to mention this. Yeah, being with Allan has also messed up your godhood and made you start to expire more quickly. So he also kind of like being with him because he's a demon and you're a god, basically like made it to where you had like maybe max a year to live. So if you kept like, you know, doing stuff with him, it was going to keep getting shorter and shorter. So he kills you. So he can reincarnate you into a human body. So the game does something different. It goes into part B. And he reincarnates you and you get born. Fun fact, you look exactly the same. And you still live in Lost York and you go to college and you meet Gil's nephew, apparently. And you meet someone who is related to Rawl, and they're like your best friends. And Clarice is there again, who hasn't aged at all. So you reincarnate your next human life. You're raised as a human. Allan is constantly protecting you because apparently, even though you're reincarnated, your soul still like beams goddess tastiness, and all the demons are after you. So he protects you. He basically plays your demonic guardian angel your entire human life. Yeah, did I say that it's complicated? So this is part B. Part B is 20 years into the future compared to all the other routes. Poor Gil, he had never got over you, according to the nephew that you meet in college. Gil probably would have had a heart attack if he met you. And you know what? Since your second life is basically the exact same as the first life, you're like, oh, I want to go to matchmaking school and I want to go to Lost York. And that's kind of a, you know, a way so that they can reuse all the backgrounds they already have. So props on them, and you look exactly the same, so they don't have to change your sprite or anything. Kind of smart the way they're doing this, not gonna lie. But Allan protects you, and he's supposed to stay out of your life this time so he doesn't fuck it up, and you can fall a human person and fall in love. You also don't remember anything of your past life. You know, you kind of have some memories, but they're very vague. So Allan's staying away, and unsuccessfully. He loves you too much, and he keeps saving you from danger, and at some point you actually see him. And because Allan pops back into your life, you start to remember things. You start to remember your past life. And it's like, oh, okay. And you're like, I don't understand. Why can't we be together? And you're like, I love you. And you're like, there's something else going on. And you're like, whatever. But yeah, so your divine artifact, your Cupid's bow, starts popping back up. Even though you're human, you start to remember everything. Jupiter finds you. They're like, oh, holy shit, Cupid, you disappeared for 20 years. A fun fact, Jupiter is also trying to save you. And so they take you back up to Celestia, and Allan's like, no! He tries to, you know, keep you on Earth, but Jupiter's just like, Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt. And takes you back to Celestia. You guys can't really beat him. And you get up there, and people are freaking out. Apparently Juno's missing. And Jupiter wants you to become Juno, which would require that you marry him. And Jupiter just like, quick note, Jupiter is not like the Mist. He's not a man-ho like all the Mist. He's just like... So, what the fuck happened to Juno? Not explained. Don't know. But supposedly, if you go from being a lower god to a main god, the Decacintes, one of the main 12, you will no longer expire. So Jupiter is actually kind of doing this to save your soul. Because if you stay in the role of Cupid, your soul will expire and you will poof and disappear forever. So, but if he puts you into the role of Juno, then you get to live forever. So Jupiter is actually kind of trying to help you. So, and you're like, okay, this is weird. I don't really want to marry Lord Jupiter. I want to marry Allan. Yeah, and you also start having memories, like, of a life even farther back. So you know how I mentioned, like, the first person that you had sexy dreams about was some blonde-haired guy? Well, so apparently Cupid, in the very, very first life, you were a little angel. And I don't know about angelology or mythology or demonology or whatever the fuck all this stuff is being based off of, but supposedly there are some angels that are just angels, and then there's angels that are split into two halves, and the two halves always stay together, so it's like two halves of the same soul. What you find out is that you and Allan were a pair of little angels who were two halves of the same soul. Apparently, when a new god is needed, so old Cupid dies, needs new Cupid, they go to the little angels in heaven and they kidnap them and turn them into the gods. So for whatever fucking reason, when Jupiter and Mercury came down, Mercury was like, okay, we need this one to be Nike, we need this one to be Cupid, and the one that was Nike was just a random angel, and then they picked you from the pair of angels, and they were just like, yeah, fuck off, Allan, whatever. And even Jupiter's like, this seems kind of cruel to separate these two. And Mercury's like, I don't give a fuck. So, you're a little cherub. So you and Allan get separated. You are two halves of the same soul, and you get separated. So they take you to be Cupid, and Allan tries to stop them in his little cute little angel body. I don't know what it looks like. They didn't have pictures. And he tries to, you know, defy the gods for you. And because he rebelled, that's how he fell and became a demon. Also, here's a picture of his demon form. Because he's half an angel, each of you had a wing, I guess. So that's why his demon form has like one wing. So yeah. So stuff happens. There are multiple endings for Allan. The best ending is basically you both fall. So you go to heaven. That's where you figure out that like all this stuff happened, because like once you get set foot in heaven, you're like, oh, I remember. And then you jump off of heaven and you fall, and he's flying up trying to get to Celestia to find you, and he catches you, and you both fall, and you both become demons, except for the demon you become is like a matchmaking demon, a Cupid demon. So the best end is he's an incubus, you're this other kind of demon, matchmaking demon. You feed off of normal food and you matchmake people together, and he feeds off of you. So he doesn't have to feed off of other ladies, and you run the pillow shop together. That's the best ending. I thought it was very cute. There's another ending where you both are able to become little angels again. That was considered the bad ending. I really didn't think that was that bad. Kind of bittersweet, but you're together for the rest of the time. Doesn't really solve too many issues, but you know, whatever. It's like you could be separated again. And then there was another good ending where you fall, and so you guys are both demons. When you fall this time, you become a succubus. So this is like a good ending, not a bad ending, but a good ending, but not as good as the best ending. So you become a succubus, he's an incubus, and you guys feed off of couples together. And then there's another ending where it ends before most of the others. So this is in your second life, and you still haven't remembered things from the previous lives, and your memories are kind of like sealed. So Allan is never gonna make you remember him from the previous lifetimes, angel or Cupid goddess lifetime. And you guys are dating, and he is your invisible demon boyfriend that spends all of his time with you, and you talk to him and slightly come across as a crazy person. This is a good ending. This is what you look like. Here's you guys falling. Let's see, and then so this is the ending where you're a succubus and he's an incubus. We get very sexy. And that's the ending where you both are happily together, as he's an incubus and you are the matchmaking demon, whatever it is. So yeah, did I like his route? I really liked his route. It answered a lot of fucking questions. Not all my questions. I'm assuming the secret route will answer the rest of them. But I enjoyed it. It's a good route. It's solid. Allan is not what he seems. Which again, by the point, if you do this one last, you kind of picked up on a lot that's like, it's not going to be what it seems. But he's sweet and loving, and like when he stabs you and kills you, it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that in a time skip. So it did surprise me, which is good. So anyway, next video I'm going to do is just going to be a general game review. Not going to go into spoilers. Not really going to talk about the 6th route or anything. That's going to be the next video I do on this. And then that will be a wrap for Cupid Parasite. I really like this game. It is actually probably one of my favorite otome games at the moment. It's, I think Nameless is still probably number 1. I don't even remember what the fuck happens in Nameless, but it's stuck with me, so it gets to stay in the number 1 slot. This is going to 2nd. Like, I'm liking this more than Lampiasore. I have a stack of otome games to get through, so like, you know, something could beat this, but like this game's vibe is very me, so I'm loving it. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I would love a subscription. So, bye bye.